Canine Detection Collaborative, a detection dog training trio with Stacy Barnett.
Hi.
Robin Greubel.
Hey there.
And Crystal Wing.
What's up?
With humor and a big dose of theory, our trio talks practical training advice and features interviews with top trainers and scientists. It's Canine Detection Collaborative.
Hi, everybody. This is Robin Greubel, and welcome back to the Canine Detection Collaborative. We are going to pick up with our second half of the interview with Steve White from last time. I'm here with Stacy Barnett, and we're going to just jump right into the interview with Steve. If you didn't catch the last episode where we were talking with Steve, I strongly suggest you go back and listen to that episode first, because it was a fascinating 2 hours of discussion, and we actually look forward to having Steve on again. So with that, we're just going to jump right in with the difference between some other detection dogs and medical and explosives detection dogs. So here we go. So when we started, you were separating out medical detection and bomb dogs.
Oh, yeah.
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 Why is that?
Because of the search part. Yeah. Can you keep?
Oh, let me see. Let's see if Stacy's knows where I'm going with that. Do you have an idea why I say that the search part can be problematic for medical detection dogs? It's also problematic for some bomb dogs.
Yeah. So, it's the hunting part of it, right? So if the hunting, it's a picking, it's selection is location. On the medical side of it, it's a yes, no, right?
Right. So essentially they are examination dogs, not search dogs.
It's like having, they're there with a microscope. They're not seeking out, where is my microscope?
So let's say you have a dog that's being trained to detect ovarian cancer, and you have a urine sample.
Yeah.
In stanchion number 10 out of a row of 20.
Yeah.
And you're at stage 1. All right. You don't know it, but they ask you to put a sample in there. It's at stage 1.
Yeah.
And what if there was a stage 4 in stanchion 12, and the dog got a really good whiff of that thing from downwind and vaulted past yours and didn't truly examine yours to hit 12?
Yeah.
How would that work out for you?
Yeah.
Pretty bad.
Right.
Could be.
And so the key is focusing on training the dog to examine as a critical skill rather than just hunt and search.
So it's a style of searching.
Yes.
No, it is not a style of searching. Once they're at the examination, it's a simple yes, no. Do I smell it? Do I not?
Yeah.
Next one. Yes, no. Yes, no. If they have the inclination to want to go search, it will get us in trouble.
Okay. So I'm using style of searching. It's like style of hunting. When I think style of hunting or style of searching, there's active sniffing and passive sniffing. And for me, passive sniffing is area search dog, disaster dog running around something, odor whaps them in the face, then they follow it up.
Mm-hmm.
Active sniffing is the narcotics dog actively trying to sniff a molecule of narcotics out of the crack of a car.
Right.
For me, active sniffing would be a medical detection dog purposefully knowing that they have to stop and sniff each individual stanchion and select it, and then make the selection process. So that's where definitions, people, are important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like your active sniffing versus passive sniffing. I like the idea of separating the two. If you look at the 8 scent work indicators that Steve McKenzie laid out that we teach, breathing is one of them, and that's a piece of it. And so in other words, that's a subset. In other words, breathing changes are there. That's one of the subsets that's really valuable to learn, because that's probably one of the keys of the locate behavior.
Right.
When the animal's trying to locate, they're going to change from that passive sniffing to active sniffing. And that's where you're going to wind up using your ears and your eyes as much to read the dog as you are your eyes. It's a combination. But when I teach that, I have people close their eyes when I do the breathing video. I just close your eyes and tell me when you think the dog is close. And almost 80% of the people raise their hands at the right spot just by listening. And I say, good, that's what you need to do. Not just watch your dog, but not just look at him in the nose, but look at her rib cage.
Yeah.
See what's going on. There's all sorts of stuff that you need to pay attention to. But the examination piece is big because guess what? What if you have dogs that are checking luggage going on a cruise ship?
Yeah.
And that's every piece of luggage has to get checked. Do you want that dog, running downwind, or running upwind to a piece of luggage and bypassing one? No, you don't. Examination is a skill. And this is why I want to, if I have any sway at all with my friends that are in the medical detection field, get the idea of them being search dogs out of there.
Yeah.
I get the idea that they are examination dogs.
Yeah.
Same with a lot of the explosive detection work is examination. Maybe it's some discrete object that somebody says, "Ooh, we think there's a bomb in that," or that's a suspicious thing. We want to have it examined, or it can be a space that you're going to have people enter. So they examine every aspect of that space before they let people enter that space. So before an object is handled or a space is entered, that dog's job is to examine it and to give it a yes, no. Search and rescue. All right. So I just did this podcast yesterday. So part 2 of that USPCA webinar series that I'm doing, we recorded yesterday. So it'll be out next week.
Oh, can't wait.
But we talk about this very thing that like search and rescue. I mean, I'll put it this way. Let's go back. Think of a narcotics dog. What gets narcotics dog handlers in trouble? False alerts or misses?
False alerts.
Right. That's what gets them in trouble.
Yeah.
Right.
Misses are bad. Misses are bad, but you never know if the dope you missed is the dope that killed somebody.
Right. You don't know that.
Or got somebody's kid hooked.
Right.
So you never get the feedback that says it's bad, but you definitely get feedback if you have a false.
Yes.
And it may not be a false. It just may be that they weren't able to collect the sample that the dog is able to detect.
Correct.
So they call them non-productive responses.
Right.
So now for a bomb dog, what gets a bomb dog in trouble? Misses or falses?
Missing.
Yeah.
Missing. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Ship sink, plane falls out of the sky, events wind up descending into chaos. People die. The whole point of this. But if a bomb dog has a non-productive response or a false, what's the likely result?
Embarrassment on behalf of the handler.
Yeah. Inconvenience to somebody else. Somebody's going to have to follow up on that dog's response.
Yeah.
Inconvenience is a far less severe consequence than the consequence of a miss.
Right.
Right. So at that point, you look at this. Search and rescue. Here's this weird hybrid thing.
Yes.
Because if you're a search and rescue handler, your search manager is going to give you an area. If you're given an area, what are you supposed to do with it?
Clear it.
Yeah.
And clear it means what?
You are supposed to give them a probability of detection on how well you think you have searched the area.
Yes.
Bingo. So in other words, they give you a scale, but the large thing like this is, and I tell you what.
And it's never 100%.
What would you be able to live with the rest of your life?
A false alert.
As opposed to a miss.
A miss will chase you down for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yep. I will take a false alert all day long.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a lifeline dog. I mean, I get it.
Yeah. So, and the irony is, what do counties spend money paying people to do? They pay cops to be canine handlers, right? They pay firefighters to be USAR handlers.
Right.
How many are paid wilderness handlers?
Pay? What?
Paid? Yeah,
Pay?
they're not.
What? No.
It's an ironic twist because they're the ones who you got it rough both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sitting over here. I'm laughing my tail, like, pay.
Yeah.
And that's why.
I tell people a lot, search and rescue work is the volunteer profession that you pay to do.
Yeah.
And is one of the most stressful things you can ever do because somebody else's life could depend on what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why almost every search and rescue handler I know is a slightly odd duck.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. You know what? Since I got started in search and rescue, that propelled me down this path. My very first obedience instructor with a German Shepherd was the training director for Washington State German Shepherd search dogs, Washington State, Ron Underwood. And he got me started with that. Little did I know the first time he said, "You want to come help out?" Sure. He stuck me in a snow cave at Snoqualmie Ski Resort, buried under, like a mound of snow.
Cool.
Off one of the things. Yeah, except I didn't know that was going on. I'd never done this. I just moved out to New York the year before, had no idea about this. And I wore blue jeans.
Oh, burr.
Sneakers.
Oh, no.
And a cotton jacket.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Then they got to practice their wilderness first aid when they found you because you had frostbite.
Oh, no, they gave me
and
lots
you were
of
hypothermic.
They gave me lots of coffee. Lots of coffee.
Oh, my
afterwards.
goodness.
And,
wow.
But I loved it, man. I was hooked.
Yeah.
I was hooked from the moment I peeked. I'm in this cave in a snowdrift underneath the ski resort roof where they've got snow that they pulled down off of the roof that they've got there mounded up. They dug it out, got a big hole for me. I crawled in there. They patched the hole up. The first time a German Shepherd, you could hear the and next, all of a sudden, you see this little black spot and there's a nose. And next thing you know, there's this German Shepherd head sticking out there looking at you. I was like,
that's so cool.
My gosh. This
How cool is
so
that?
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So tell us a little bit about your evolution of the hydrated intensive tracking and how you came up with that.
Seattle was a tracking-centric agency when I first started. It was trailing more accurately. And we did it off lead at a dead run behind our dogs.
Isn't that called area search?
No. When they're following a trail, area search is when you work crosswind from the downwind side. When you're trailing off lead, the dog is truly following the trail just like they would if you had a tracking lead.
Okay.
And really good dogs, you could move at a brisk pace, but not have to run.
Right.
But we had a system built where we started them out in the cemeteries.
Okay.
We worked nights. The cemeteries loved having us there because it kept the keggers out.
Yeah.
All right. So
the vandalism
and the
down.
vandals.
Yeah.
And the vandals out. So we would train there at night, and it was perfect tracking grounds. This beautiful, lush grass. It's manicured. You could see the footsteps in the dew with your flashlight. And they had built-in tracking stakes. Go 3 headstones, take a right, go 4 headstones, hide behind a monument.
Oh my gosh.
All right. So the dogs were really good on that. And then we got great results. And then as Seattle started getting more urbanized, our results started to slip. And we started trying to figure out better ways to do this.
Need more hard surface.
Yeah. And early experiments with hard surface, we were trying to figure out what to do. And we looked at Gottfried Dildai's video, starting with dirt and deep footprints and footsteps in each heel. And that, we're kind of looking that could work. And we're looking at different things. And I was teaching at a canine conference in Las Vegas for Bob Eden's group, the International Canine Conference, which, by the way, he's thinking about kicking off again.
Ooh.
So having international canine conferences once again.
That'd be cool.
Yep. He's tossing the idea around. And Jeff Fenton, who was the trainer for Phoenix, had said he'd had success training dogs to track in the desert in Phoenix using a system that he heard from some Swedish guy. He didn't even know who it was, but some Swedish guy told about making scent in a bottle. And that was taking a dirty T-shirt or some socks that a track layer had been wearing, put them in a bucket of unchlorinated water, sloshing it around, and then putting that into a sprayer and then spraying the ground with that, where you're actually directly applying scent to it. Started playing with that. We had some results, good results with it. The early steps of that, we literally tried free shaping the dogs to follow it. So we put the line down, watch the dog indicate on it, and then we click as soon as they showed some interest. And then we just followed, as they got linear, we shaped the behavior from there. That was tough because a lot of people really don't have the clicker timing skills to get that right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we saw the Gottfried Dildai videos where he's putting food in every footstep, but the dog knows it's going to be there. He can see the footsteps. It's a visual activity. My brain is kind of trying to wrap around on this. And we played with it in a variety of different contexts. And one of them was, I did a search and rescue seminar down in Ukiah, California. And we took a variety of dogs there and we did water with scent in a bottle, water with no scent in a bottle, and water with hot dog juice in the bottle. And we found that it didn't really matter. Didn't really matter. This hot dog juice would get them. The wet line, the dogs were a little, just a wet line with water only. They were a little less inclined to follow the scent in a bottle. But once you started shaping the process, they could all pick up on it pretty well. And then we started playing with this, and I was at a USPCA seminar in Canton, Ohio, maybe about a year and a half, 2 years later. And a whole bunch of people were coming through, and they had no shaping skills whatsoever. Nobody had told them about marker training, trying to get that in there and give them the market right. It was just like, no show. All right.
Right.
Said I wasn't going to cuss on your podcast.
No, I think we're allowed 3.
Yes.
In an episode.
Yeah.
Without an E. Otherwise, if it goes over that, we just put an E on.
And it's fine.
I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
I think
you can do it. Yeah.
So what I did was I said, okay, I'm going to hybridize what I saw from the Dildite stuff with what I do with this. And we had a bunch of dogs and we did a test with them. We ran a track across the grass and then we did a pavement crossing, just a straight crossing across a road. And you watch as every dog would track on the grass right up to the edge of the road. And then what did they do when they got to the road?
Lift their head up.
Yeah. That's their
Bingo. And then what did they do? Drag their handlers across the road to where they could see paved grass on the other side and then immediately drop their nose.
Right. Because they see that this is hard surface, but there's something over there that I might be able to actually work.
Right. So what we did is I put the spray down at that point and I put Dildai hot dogs on there. Every footstep you put it down. Had people working their dogs pick that up and eat it. And they were eating hot dogs off the ground as they sprayed it after they'd sprayed it. So they spray a line, come back, lay the hot dogs down, and it was little pieces. Dogs wound up picking up on that. And then we started reducing the amount of hot dogs and just having the spray there, little gaps here and there. They'd work it out. They'd go hey, wait a minute, where's my food? You see dogs pick their head up. Some would circle around. Eventually they figured, if I just follow this, I'll get to it.
Yeah.
So then we did another track with some of those same dogs with another road crossing where we just put spray across. And lo and behold, all the dogs had their heads lower than they had before going across there. And some of them were literally following the line across.
Nice.
Well, we thought, wow, that's cool. What was really interesting was that for some of them, by the time they got to it, the spray line had evaporated and you couldn't see it, but they still did it. Their heads were lower across the pavement than they were before. And I realized that maybe we'd made an association with the pavement that it's a good thing to put your head down on pavement. Good things can happen when you do that. And it wound up being kind of an epiphany for me there. Then I really realized, wait a minute, we're harnessing classical conditioning at the same time that we're doing this operant stuff, that it's happening right there. And what I wanted to see, and I try and get people to do when they use the HIT system from that point forward, and I'll tell you more about its evolution, is I want them to not focus on what the dog is accomplishing as to nearly as much as what your outward interpretation of the dog's, what you're inferring about the dog's state of being, emotional state of being is when they're doing it. When they're frantic, you'll see it. And franticness is displayed by, rapid movement of the paws, the head shifting around as they're trying to frustratedly get everything or pulling against the line. When they're calm and they just trust that it's going to work, all of a sudden the pace smooths out. The eating isn't frantic. They're just lapping up the treats as they go. Everything's fine. And I say, if you can get to the point where your dog has that calm, steady demeanor and it's just like focused on the task and I don't have to be frantic about it, they're going to be clear-headed enough to handle this when we get into difficult urban environments. And that's so hard to get people by because he's getting to the end. It's straight on the line. I say, yeah. But if you can get the dog clear-headed, because we know that there is what they call a conditioned emotional response. All right. And if I can get the conditioned emotional response to be one of calm, like just, drop down, settle into this activity, as opposed to like try to get through it, then they're going to perform better for me.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I try to get that with search dogs.
Right.
The best search dogs are not the ones who can run around the longest and the fastest. The best search dogs are the ones that have figured out, if I just get across here and I get across there and I get across here and I get across there and I check that thing and I check that thing and I check that thing and I really check this thing along here, then I'm going to get lucky and I'm going to find it. It's rare to find that because a lot of people unwittingly select for the high energy dogs thinking that's what I need. And what you need, I think, is rather than the high energy dog, is that dog that can keep this up forever.
Yeah.
And just like steady. I never give up. I never give up. I never give up. I'm just going to keep going, keep going, keep going. That's the dog I want.
Yep.
And so it evolved. And now we still put food down, but we changed it. And we changed it largely because of the recommendations and time I spent looking at Dick Stahl's method.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about this, but Dick Stahl's method involves teaching the dog to down at articles first.
Yep.
And he has a really great system. I recommend you go to it, get that, and do this. Because as soon as we started teaching articles first, and then started teaching the linear activity of following a track, which isn't linear, it's a connect the dots picture as opposed to a line.
Right.
Then all of a sudden things changed, especially if you did like Stahl does and like Tobias Gustafson does. And by the way, we'll talk about the differences between them, which I love both of their work.
Yeah.
But they both made decisions about the trade-offs they want.
Yeah. Because I know Tobias and I know Jens and Dick and all of those. Everybody has their thing, right? And it's fine.
Yeah. But the one thing is they're both looking for dogs that will find a little, steel
little
washer
things
on the track, teeny things, coins. Because in marksmanship, there's an expression, aim small, miss small.
Right.
In other words, if you really focus on having a really good sight picture, you're going to have better results. You're going to have tighter groupings and things like that. So if we teach our dog to find little things like that, then the big things are really easy.
Yeah.
A person is a huge sense source. But if they find the little things on the way to that person, they're going to stay focused on the track and the path. They're stay focused on that task, and they're not so much thinking about the big end at the end of that person being there. And that works out really well for getting dogs that can handle the rigors of, some pretty harsh urban work. One of the things that we shifted to when we started teaching articles first is we started with those, with larger articles, easier to find and things like that. But pretty quickly we went to small articles.
Right.
And going to small articles makes a big difference. It is one of those things that if you can get it to that point and have a dog focus on a track and pick those up for you, you're going to be in good shape operationally. Now you just have to teach the dog to handle the modules and transitions. So we still use spray. So Tobias and Dick don't use spray. I'm one of the few remaining people that does this classically conditioned stuff with spray, but I use it because it becomes a really good teaching tool later on when I want to build new skills in or I want to do remedial stuff. I can use, if you buy Pryor's laws of shaping, her
Right.
10 laws of shaping, one of them is anytime you raise one criterion, you temporarily relax other criteria. Well, one way to do that is bring the spray back when you're trying to teach something new.
Okay.
Get the dog through it, and then it's easy to fade out because you can just widen the spray so that it's not as apparent. You can make it intermittent. You could just make it a light mist as opposed to a heavy stream. All sorts of stuff you can do. So HIT right now isn't what it was when you saw it.
I know.
It has never stayed steady. And I got to produce a new medium to get it out for people to see. I'm without a dog myself right now, so I got to figure out how I'm going to get local resources to help me go ahead and produce it. But I want to go ahead and show people the power of kind of blending this idea of building the love of articles first, at this kind of off to the side. You're doing the classical conditioning that pavement is a good thing. Oh, nose down on pavement. That pays so good.
Right.
Just really, really loves that stuff. Because what I want, that primacy of teaching pavement first, and this is where I'm a little different than Dick, because he starts out on grass, because I want that dog when they're under stress to go, where's a piece of pavement?
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Because that's the world I'm working in.
Right.
Now, if I was back to being a county deputy, probably not.
Yeah.
And a lot earlier than I used to, I'm doing different surfaces with circle tracks, going across a variety of surfaces just over and over again till the dog learns, oh, transition, 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 we're good. Oh, elevation, transition, good, we're good. Elevation up, elevation down, stairs, we're good. Stairs down. AstroTurf, we're good.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
One of the things you started talking about that, and it's been really interesting for me to think about the generalization piece and how the balance of make sure your foundation is solid, but you have to generalize as fast as possible. Because what I see people do is they get stuck on boxes or their ORT or whatever, and they stay there way too long.
I think an eye-opener for me, I'm going to give Bob Bailey credit for this, and some of the operational work he's done in Europe with some of the dogs over there with Simon Prinz and others. He taught he's taught guidance systems for years,
right? Going
back to the Dolphins, a binary system. On, if you hear the tone, it means continue in a straight line. If the tone stops, stop.
Right.
Swivel, look for something, go like that. All right.
Yeah.
Simple way to steer a dog. And one of the things Bob said in doing the way he started that is he had visual targets for them to go to. So he had to teach the dogs to nose target.
Right.
And go to a target, and that would be a pay station. And then he taught them that the tone predicted that target was going to be hot. Oh, now there's two targets. Which one's hot? The one that you're pointed at when you hear the tone, that one's going to pay.
Right.
And so eventually get the system out there. And he said, but the one thing you have to do as quickly as you can for these dogs that are going to be just doing guidance work is get the visual piece out of the way as quickly as you can.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the same thing with HIT. In my old approach, I probably kept the visual on there, and some people struggle with that. The visual piece was there too long.
Yeah.
The visual piece really, so I don't call that tracking. And in fact, a lot of times now with a lot of dogs, I don't start with anything linear. We just do a big spray circle on the ground, sprinkle it with treats, maybe about 3 to 5 feet in diameter.
Yep.
And let the dog just clean that up. So they're just getting that classical association with nose down on pavement.
Yep.
And then after a while, once you've done that, give it a little tail like a tadpole.
Right.
All right. And then after a while, it's a long snake. And then after a while, and immediately from the very beginning, it's not a straight line. It's always curving.
Yeah. How many people walk in straight lines? Not me.
And also, it keeps the dog from blitzing.
Yeah.
They can't, it's harder for them to just pick a vector and go. They learn to go slow and be methodical and be focused.
Yeah. What I love this whole conversation is also the power of context and how you can use context to help your training. Because I'm listening to what you're saying and how you use spray, right? And I kind of think about like how I start my 101 students, right? I start with a switch box, which is a visual in the beginning, and how we quickly fade that. And then the dog's working just for the odor. But then later when I take the dog, and we do this actually pretty quickly, into a new environment and we're in a novel area for the first time, learn, oh, hey, novel area, it's a lot. And how you're like, oh, pavement pays. If I don't know what I'm doing, just really interesting to see how you can use context in the common variable, to help to really kind of help with that comprehension.
So I think it's fair to say, particularly with the explosives dogs that I do the certifications on, that context is a more reliable driver of behavior than the handler's cues.
Yeah.
Yep.
And context can be, we only do this stuff in this one place.
Right.
And then they go other places and the dogs aren't as responsive. And that's one of those things. And it's one of those things that it's easy to get past.
Yeah.
Or I'll put it this way. It's simple to get past, but it takes work and to get that generalization. So when you were talking about that balance between getting the behavior really, really fluid and then starting to get the generalization you need by getting all these different contexts and all that stuff and environments, it's like, I believe that when we're shaping behavior, particularly when we're free shaping behavior where latency, speed, power, intensity are not baked into the cake,
Right.
that you need to rotate through all those aspects of fluency as you're going up. Go rotate through those as you're building and shaping the behavior. If you focus on one too long, you'll create a plateau.
Yes.
And a classic example, I can remember back when I was teaching for a certain organization that used clickers and they would host conferences. Jen and I wanted to do a class about the problems you can run into with clicker training.
Uh-huh.
Oh, no, you can't do that class. There are no problems with it.
There are no problems with it. Oh my gosh, really?
Well, let me name the ways.
I mean, it was unbelievable. But like one of the classic ones that you'd be at one of these conferences is all the dogs had what we call pop-up downs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You'd say down, and immediately, as soon as the dog the elbows were on the ground, they were back up again.
Right.
Yeah.
Duration. Why? Because the clicker is such a cool tool for creating dogs that have crisp responses. And crisp responses are a combination of a short latency and high speed.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. If you have short latency and high speed, that's what we call a crisp response. And then you're clicking for that fast drop to the down, right?
Yeah.
And as the dog's so used to that, they're like, I'm down and I'm going to get my treat.
Right. Where's my click?
Yeah. You didn't click. Oh, I still did it. Come on.
I've ran into handlers who have inadvertently turned their click into a cue to be their trained final response.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Accidentally.
Yeah, or they use the word yes. We ran into that where yes meant if you said yes, then the
now
dog
does their trained final response.
Yeah.
And it's just the lack of understanding of how to put all of those pieces together. And, when you start talking about latency, speed, power, and the last one, you were using nice terms and
Accuracy.
Yeah. Which is how you measure learning.
Yeah.
And those are the things where when you're talking about generalizing a behavior in all of these different environments, which for me is green eggs and ham, can you do it here? Can you do it there? Can you do it everywhere? And you do have to speed through those all really fast to make sure that the dog understands stimulus control. That is the definition of stimulus control.
Mm-hmm.
It means that everywhere.
Yeah.
And so at the criteria I defined.
So if you remember the 4 conditions of stimulus control that in Don't Shoot the Dog in Karen Pryor's book, it boils down to one sentence. Do what I say and only what I say as soon as I tell you to do it until I tell you to do something else.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple. If you've got that, that's stimulus control. And
correct.
This is a piece that people miss out on a lot. They think if the dog doesn't respond appropriately, that the behavior, that he doesn't know the behavior. a lot of the times, no, it's just that you have not effectively established stimulus control under the conditions in which you just gave it.
Correct.
They misconstrue the lack of knowledge about the behavior as opposed to the lack of knowledge of when to do it, how to do it.
Right.
Correct.
I mean, think about it. Most of the things we want dogs to do that we call obedience or we call search or we call trailing or tracking.
Or obedience to odor.
They already know how to do.
Right.
They just don't know to do it the way we need it done, when we need it done.
Right.
Right.
That's what almost all obedience training, all scent detection is. Taking a dog's natural abilities, their natural inclinations, and then trying to put them under stimulus control.
Correct.
And maybe change the forms in ways that are more useful for us.
Yep.
And when I can't remember who I was having a conversation with, but when I really, really started thinking about odor as a obedience cue to do an obedience behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Because odor is a stimuli in my world, because I like a sit and stare because of what I do. Or for Nico, it's a bark and hold.
Yeah.
That's all odor is to him. And so have I trained my dog to be fluent in all of the environments that I need him to be fluent in to do that behavior? And that's what detection work is. It started taking out a lot of the excuses I had for my dog not being able to do his work.
I think one of the things that gets handlers in trouble a lot, both patrol dog handlers and detector dog handlers, is not preparing their dogs for the operating environment.
Yes.
In other words, and sometimes it's because you just don't have access to it. I mean, imagine having a search dog in Eastern Tennessee or Western North Carolina after the hurricane floods.
I was there. You couldn't do it.
How could you prepare your dog for that?
You can't.
The only thing you can do is your best approximation.
Right.
And then when you experience something, you say, okay, there may be adjustments we can make.
Right. And actually, it was a lot of wilderness work. A little bit of disaster work is what it was. And a lot of buried. And the interesting thing is when you encounter, and then you go from that to the New Mexico fires, how much burned work are you doing? And it comes down to the generalization work and thinking, I spend some time going through Facebook groups. Okay, I don't actually go to the Facebook groups because otherwise my head might explode. But occasionally they come up on my feed, and occasionally I see my dog does really good in training, but when we get on the street, this happens. And I'm like, dude, your dog knows the difference between training and operations.
This is what we're talking about before.
Yes, they know the difference. Ring nerves.
Yeah.
It's the same phenomenon. And that's why, in the old days in Seattle, when we were all working nights, we were all on one shift. My job, after we got somebody trained and on the street, my job as a trainer would be at the start of the shift, we'd have a quarry officer come in, an officer who wanted to get into the canine unit, who was going to go out and lay tracks for us that night. He would come in, or she would come in, get in the car. We drive up to the north end of the city, and we lay a track for a handler there in a residential neighborhood, in a commercial area, whatever, but real world. And we would tell them, here's your start point and your initial direction. It starts from the passenger door of the blue Toyota in the 9700 block of Evanston Avenue North and goes south to the corner. After that, it's up to you. Handlers would run those tracks. And it used to be I'd run with them, but then the dogs realized, oh,
Steve's here.
If the slow old guy is here, then we're going to be lucky. We're going to get a success. So we had to do that. So then I had to watch from a distance.
Right.
And keep my eyes out on that. But then I would work my way down from one end of the city to the other, all the way from the north end down to the south end of the city, and then send the handler home that night. And we would do that and those tracks were getting tracks that for us in operational law enforcement, they were at least a half an hour old. Because we wanted to get past the vegetation hump.
Right.
Right. and into the human component. So they were at least a half an hour old, but not over an hour most of the time. Sometimes we would do, if we didn't have a lot of handlers work, then we work hour and a half, 2-hour tracks. When we had a bloodhound for a while, I would go out and lay a track, and Tim Teakin, the training master at that time, would pick me up, and then we go lay another one, and then he'd pick me up. We go train all the German Shepherd patrol dogs, and at the end, he dropped me at the end of the second track I laid, and the bloodhound had come find me.
Okay.
Then he dropped me at the end of the first one, which is now by that point almost 8 hours old.
Right.
And the dog would come find me. And that was the way everybody got work that was in their wheelhouse. And everybody got work in their operating environment. Everybody had the stress of not knowing where things were. It was not a perfect system. I now believe in doing more known stuff as a skill building. Like I do the unknown stuff to see where I've got a weak spot, and then I do known stuff to address it. So in other words, those things are designed to help us see where the edges of performance are. Ooh, this dog is okay on street crossings, but if there's a traffic rotary, he kind of gets befuddled. So, okay, we're going to do traffic rotaries. Fill in the blank. Whatever needs work, that's there to help us see. Then we do known stuff to address that.
Okay. So we're splitting these because we've been talking for a while. So
great.
I know, because you're coming back. We're going to let your voice rest, and then we'll hit you up. So
you with lemon and honey.
Yeah. So you've got, it's a 3-part series with the USPCA. So probably by the time this episode comes out, the third one will be out.
How long is that? Because the second one will be out next week, and the third one comes out in October.
So I believe these 2 episodes will come out sometime in October.
Okay.
So we'll link to those in the show notes.
Okay.
What else are you up to?
What else am I up to? Like I said, that's about it.
Okay.
I teach for the Washington State Police Canine Association and the Western States Police Canine Association. I'm part of the United States Police Canine Association's Best Practices Working Group. So every week we meet. Don Slavic and I meet with the other members of the group, all veteran trainers, and we're trying to produce materials that will give guidance to canine handlers, not just USPCA members, anywhere, about best practices, about things that are going to optimize your workflow and keep you out of your civil attorney's office.
Yeah.
And other than that, I've had enough people kind of getting on my case saying that I need to write a book, and I think I want to produce some materials. I don't know if it's going to be in book form or not, because I think the people you referred to earlier, Stacy, that don't understand the references that we make, the old timers, probably don't want books. They probably want electronic media. So I got to figure out exactly how to do this. But one of the things I want to get to young canine handlers now is for patrol handlers, you know what? There are ways to get control over your dog that involve eliciting the dog's cooperation rather than forcing its cooperation. And that when you do wind up having to use force, it's very rare. When you use compulsion, it's very rare. It's of milder form, and it's more effective because the punishment callus is a real thing. Animals that are exposed to it will inure themselves to the discomfort, and then they'll try and work around it. But an animal that thinks, hey, man, cooperation is the path to getting what I want, that's what I want. That's the animal I want. And then for detector dogs and patrol dogs alike, the importance of building fluent, robust behaviors before you start snapping together as a chain. That's one of the things that I'm blessed that my agency gave me. They gave us 16 weeks for a canine academy, which is long for a lot of them. And we didn't start snapping behaviors together really until about week 12 or 13. A lot of independent work. And then all of a sudden, now it's a chain. Now it's a track and like that. And that's starting with green dogs and green handlers. So both ends of the leash are getting trained at the time. And my belief is I want the police canine community to realize there's no such thing as a canine handler from the dog's perspective. Because from the dog's perspective, you're either a trainer or you're a trainee.
Yeah.
And they have it way easier than we do. They don't have to think about anything except how to make the hairless monkey say good and give them stuff.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Whereas, we've got all kinds of things we have to think about.
Right.
And it gets in the way of our training.
Yeah.
Cool. Huh.
I love it.
Okay. So we usually do takeaways, but I have like a list.
Oh my gosh. It's just, yeah.
If I do takeaway, it's pod mao usually, but that's never mind.
Because I've got the 8 indicators, which by the way, we refer to and use all of the time. And we send, because your website is Proactive Canine. So we send people out there all of the time. And we'll link to that in the show notes. And the search, locate, report chain.
Oh, yeah. Dude.
Yeah, all the time. I have
time.
handouts with that on it. I think the thing for me, besides learning the law of primacy today, was...
You already knew it, but you just knew it by a different name.
Knew it by a different name, was a different framework to think about having dogs that are taught to do examination instead of thinking about them as searching dogs. They're examination dogs.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll tell you what, I watched one medical detection organization cycle through different trainers for a while and watched that somebody come in that had a search orientation, and I just watched the dog's behavior get wobbly just immediately.
Yep.
Interesting.
It was, yeah. So as far as I'm concerned, it really cemented in my mind the idea that this is a different task than a search.
Yep.
Well, and I would almost think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I almost would think your electronics detection falls more into the examination dogs. I don't know.
I actually think that the electronic detection dogs are probably fine detail search dogs, and that they're a hybrid, that when they get to something, that the level of fine examination they have to do is pretty stunning.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So that was my little takeaway for today.
Mine was really just what I love is the discussion around foundations and the fluency around foundations, because what I see so often are people who kind of get the pieces together in a controlled environment. And now they're like, okay, how do I make it harder? And I'm like, no, that's the wrong conversation. It's not how do I make it harder now. It's all about building the fluency of those foundations, and how when you end up with the final product, it really is a mountain of fluency of foundations that gets you the final product, the dog that works in any environment, that same intensity, that same speed, that same accuracy, and that same focus. That is the final product of all of those fluency of foundations. So the discussion around fluency of foundations for me, I'm just like, yeah, like that. I love it.
Well, I wish I could say that it was my thought, but Ken Ramirez says that advanced training is nothing but the basics done to a high level.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if you think about it, really, average family dog could probably get through life with 4 behaviors, maybe 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you could get through that. And if those are really fluent and really under robust stimulus control,
yeah,
guess what? You can take them anywhere with you and you're not going to have a problem.
Right.
Police dog, I probably need about 5 to 7 behaviors.
Okay.
Right.
And that's it.
Uh-huh.
And I, depending upon what kind of work I'm going to do.
Yep.
And I'd rather have a dog with a narrow repertoire with deep reinforcement history than a dog that knows a lot of stuff kind of well.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. We're going to leave it there. Thank you, Steve, so much for your time.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
This is amazing.
Yeah,
Thank
amazing.
you.
Thank you. Everybody else, go train.
Train hard.
Canine Detection Collaborative! We appreciate the time you spend with us. If you liked this episode, not only should you follow us so you don't miss the next one, but please also rate and review us in your favorite podcast app. For info on collaborating with us, go to K9DetectionCollaborative.com. That's K9DetectionCollaborative.com, where you can find our socials and pick up our latest monthly freebie. Join us again to talk training in the next episode.